Hi everyone. In today's episode, we're going to look at the question: Is writer's block really stopping you? How to break through? So the question is, what exactly is writer's block? There are different versions of it, but majorly writer's block is we don't feel like writing. Oftentimes, most of the time, so we want to write, but we don't feel like writing, and sometimes the words are not forming. Okay, and when we try to write, the quality of writing we come up with is not exactly as good as what we would expect, right? So at that point in time, we feel like, okay, was it even the use of doing what I'm doing? There's absolutely no use spending time doing what I'm doing, right? But that's a problem because oftentimes the reason why we feel that we have writer's block is because the quality of the writing is something of concern in the writing itself, right? Okay, so what I mean is that if your goal is to wake up and write, not necessarily to write the best or an absolutely masterpiece. Guess what? Writer's block is not really a problem for you per se, because whether you write something absolutely great or not, your goal, your reward is writing itself. Sitting down to write and spending time to write. That's your reward. That's your goal. And so once you've done that, you've gotten your reward. The practice itself is the work, is the goal, it's dream, is the vision. It's what you are as a creative writer. Writer's block stems from a lot of reasons. The perfectionism, we're not good enough. We feel we do not have the skill enough to write something good enough. And so because we do not have the skill or with that, and because we feel that we're not good enough to write something good enough, what happens is that we don't get started, we don't write. So what then happens is that because we don't get started, because we don't write, because we don't get started, we don't get good enough. And because we don't get good enough, we never get to write. For some, most of us, it's a confidence issue. First of all, when we say we don't feel like writing, the whole idea simply says that there are a lot of times, there are a lot of things that we do, irrespective of the fact that we don't feel like doing them, right? Sometimes when I used to have a job, there are days where I absolutely don't feel like going to a job. Like I absolutely don't feel like when you have this clarity of your feeling, like no, like I don't really know what I feel like. I no, this one I don't feel like going to work, right? But the next thing I see myself in the bathroom, taking my bath, then doing the necessary preparation, and the next thing I see myself in the vehicle heading towards work. And I'm like, well, I didn't feel like going to work today. What happened? Because the stuff is so important that feeling is not really a thing. Because left to me, I feel like my energy is just down. I really don't have what to give. Like I would just want to be left alone, but I still go and I do the stuff that I need to do. So with writing becomes a practice, if it becomes important enough, we do it irrespective of how we feel, right? We do the work itself to become inspired. We do not wait to be inspired in order to do the work. Now this is me talking to myself, and so this is not I'm trying to advise myself here right now. So think of it this way: if perfectionism, if the output is not really an issue, then sitting down to write shouldn't be a problem per se, right? And oftentimes when we say, "Oh, I'm writer's block" and stuff like that, what exactly is the issue? The issue is that I don't really feel like the story is not really coming up. Yeah, thing is, we want to write first draft. We can always edit a blank page, edit. We can always edit bad writing, but we cannot edit a blank page, right? And that's the thing. We want to, as much as possible, show up, create something, and work on something. Then we can edit something, the thing. Then we can learn from it. But that's the only one we show up, right? Okay, so I have a couple of points here. First of all, what writer's block often stems from perfectionism or fear of criticism, fear that we're not good enough, fear that we cannot write something good, fear that we cannot create something of something body. Now, yeah, it stems from fear. And then it also stems from perfectionism that my work is not good enough. I've not gotten a stellar idea. I've not gotten an absolutely killer idea. When I get an idea that's absolutely brilliant, then I'll get started writing. I don't really think that will happen because this is a cycle. It's a cycle that we just keep moving and keep moving. That you don't necessarily get to see the end of it. Why? Because you're not writing. Because you feel blocked, you don't write. Because you don't write, you don't really get good enough to get to write a good piece of work. And because you don't get good enough to write good piece of work, you don't get to write. And so the cycle continues, and then you're like, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm blocked, I'm blocked. And a couple of ways most people do challenge themselves to face writer's block is they do what we call they make what success is definable, right? So if you're like, oh, every day I'm going to write for 1 hour, and for that 1 hour I need to come up with a minimum of 500 words, whether I like it or not, that's the goal. Now, guess what? You have to come up with 500 words every day. Now you will miss some days, but you show up every day. So sometimes we have to like be clear on what success means. Like, it's not exactly what success means, but it's clear that okay, this is what I need to expect from this section. Because oftentimes this perfectionism, this dream of a masterpiece of work. The first question we need to ask yourself is, what is a practical masterpiece of work for you? So the question is, I need to write 2,000 words today on the story, right? That for me is the goal. And once you can do that, you won for the day. And over time, you will edit your work and do other things and work on it. But for that, that's what you used to get started. So I see here again, creativity isn't a constant flow. Ebbs are normal, right? I think there's this saying that you have to go find inspiration, right? I feel that in a way, the reason why most of the time I feel writer's block and everything is because my my work itself is connected to my feeling, right? And so what I mean is that I allow emotions to interfere with my work. I'll explain that, and I need to clarify that so that you understand what I'm saying. So, like when I had a job, right? I'd go to work, or the only days I probably didn't go to work was the day I was absolutely sick, and which was really rare. Yeah, yeah. And then those days I would just like call and say, "Oh, I'm sick, I can't come to work." Because even if I come to work, I won't be able to do anything. But other days I'll go, and there's a lot of days, like a lot, a lot of days that I didn't feel like going to work. But I showed up anyway. I sat down there, I did the work, and at the end of the day, I went back home too. Right? Yeah. So for me, I'm bringing that into writing. I'm like, okay, what if? Yeah, what if? Right? How would you define that? If you had to write that, if you had to, most of us are writing is not exactly what we do full time, right? It's one of the things that we love to do and we do it on the side, right? So there's really nobody that is going to look at us to say, okay, you've not written this work, you've not done this thing, you're wasting time, you're wasting this, right? Other than if you were writing, let's say you're writing for a newspaper or a magazine, for example, you have set things you need to do, and so you force yourself to work on things, to write and do things and all that. But if you didn't have those so for me, I'm like, okay, how do I put myself in a scenario where it encourages me to write, right? And so one of the things is you could work on a project, right? And then make what success looks like. Define it. Yeah. Define it. Don't let it be a mystery. Like, oh, this mystery I cannot figure out. What does the mystery like look like? Oh, this is it. I need to write 5 lines of poetry so and so day. And poetry, so 5 lines of poetry have to have this. Now, of course, you have to move forward, but you want to get some so that it's easy to know that okay, this is what I need to do. Because sometimes the ambiguity of you can do anything. Sometimes it's scary that it gets us to. I know, like to creative, we have to be flexible. We have to be able to change a lot of things and work on different things. But the flexibility itself is overwhelming. That sometimes we just sit down and we're looking at what can I do. I can do anything. And you're like, dude, I don't think this thing is for me. I'm not gonna write again. Okay, so I have a couple of practical writing advice that you could use. Yeah. So the first one is you want to use free writing or stream of consciousness exercises. Now the thing about stream of writing, free writing and stream of consciousness, oftentimes you don't end up using them, but it gets you to start writing in the first place, right? So then we also have you could change your environment or writing routine or spice it up. And then the most important one is to set small achievable writing goals, right? So you could say, okay, I'm going to write 100 words, so number of time, and then you're able to write 100 words, and you're like, okay, I'll make progress. Over time, you come back and edit the quality of the work, and I feel that editing the work usually, I won't say it's easier, but it's the pressure is less compared to when you're writing the work itself. Yeah, I think you just have to get done with the work, and then later on you can come back to edit the work. Yeah. So next thing is we want to embrace bad writing as part of the process. Yeah, we want to embrace bad writing as part of the process. Okay. So as Maya Angelou once said that what I try to do is write. I may write for 2 weeks. The cat sat on the mat. That is that, not a rat. And it might just be the most boring and awful stuff, but I try. Right? We want to make sure that we're always trying. We don't want to say, oh, I'm blocked. We want to make sure that we're actively doing something to make sure that we get to write something, huh? Okay. That's the whole idea. We don't want to see that. Oh, I'm a block. I can't really write. Well, like, what have you tried? Like, want to make sure that we write, even if the writing ends up being not what we use, we want to just be there writing. The listener challenge I have for you today is your right challenge for today is to write about being stuck. Write a short piece about being feeling blocked. Use any style of format. You could use a poem, prose, fiction, or anything. Just write about being stuck. At least being if you've experienced writer's block, that's something that you can write about because yeah, just write about. If you love this episode of this podcast, please subscribe and follow or whatever platform you're listening on. And if you love to follow along my journey, you can go to buildwriting.com/newsletter, or you can click on the link in the description, and that way you'll be able to subscribe and join the newsletter for free. And every week I send updates on what I've been working on, what I've been trying, and the progress, the mistakes, and the realizations that have come around with creative writing. So if you love to get those letters sent to your email, do subscribe. My name is Oyemichi Nwakonam, and you've been listening to the Build Writing Podcast. I'm your host. Yeah. Until next time, keep writing.